Okay. Okay. Hey everyone. Hey guys. How you doing today? Well, what the... What kind of spawn was that? What the hell? What? What? I... yeah, I... I was just something else, right? No, I wasn't, Michael. Hey, native mercenary. James, I started the posse if you want to join me. Well, happy early birthday, Starlight Shane. Hey, Demigod. Butchie? Wait, what are you talking about, NBA? Oh, thank you, Dex, for watching my Mafia videos. I'm gonna have some more Mafia videos next month when the DLC comes out for Mafia: The Old Country. Do I think Kiryu ate grilled cheese off the radiator? He could have in prison. Yes, Faber was behind the attack on your mansion in GT Online. Okay.
What do you think you're doing?
What's this one? I don't know if I've seen this,
Get the hell out of here. Do you want to eat dirt? Go on, break that idiot.
Oh. There's someone tied up, I just realized it. I don't even have the chance, I don't even have the option of cutting them loose. No, I don't. There's a new crime game coming out called Blackwood. What's that about? Well, I think I had a little bit more fun with 007 First Light. I don't think they're going to bring back the old payouts now. They're not going to do it. Advice for graduating high school, 49 days left. What I will tell you about that, Admiral Raven, is when I had my high school graduation, I was really nervous. It was coming up. You know, I know they did a bunch of rehearsals and stuff like that. But I was when I was nervous about with graduating high school is I don't do stages well, and so like getting the diploma and stuff like that is, you know, getting up in front of a lot of people in public is very different than like streaming online, and so I wasn't I was a bit nervous about that. I was scared I was gonna trip or mess something up on stage, but everything turned out fine. It's got the diploma, and I walked off, and that was pretty much it. And you're a bit nervous the day before, but then once it's over, you're just glad it's over. That's basically it. You're just happy it's done. It's over. You don't have to deal with it anymore, and high school is done. If anything, sometimes when I think about high school, I miss some of the teachers I had because they were great teachers, but I don't miss high school in general. No.
Then why you nothing, chica? You think that gun makes you a bounty hunter? No, the 3 bounties after him make me a bounty hunter.
Most evil character in Tulsa King?
Also, chica.
Probably Ming. Ming is probably the worst one. But then you have Dunmire pretty close to that. But I would say Ming, because Ming, like, routinely kills his own people. That's the thing. And, like, Ming uses slave labor also. So, like, Ming is a very evil person. Like, I know people talked about how evil the Dixie Mafia was in Season 3, but, the Triads were, I think, worse in Season 2. Next episode of Black Flag Resync tomorrow. I promise tomorrow. And then after that, I'm gonna start uploading them regularly. So, like, I know there's been a few pauses in a few days, but I've just been making some guides on Court Center. And now that I'm putting out these guides, it's gonna be a lot easier for me to, roll that out. So just bear with me, and I'll have them out. Thank you, Victor, for the super chat. Bro, what was Operation Fast and Furious? That happened in, like, that was, like, over 10 years ago when that happened. More than that, probably, like, 11 or even 12 years ago. What Operation Fast and Furious, it was also called the ATF gunwalking scandal. What it basically was is that the federal government gave the ATF permission to basically sell guns to the cartels. And the idea of this operation, well, at least according to the government, was that when they sell the guns to the cartels, that they'll be able to track the guns and figure out where the cartels are and then destroy them. What ended up happening is thousands of the guns got lost. The ATF even sold them explosives, I believe. So it wasn't just guns, they actually sold them bombs. And what ended up happening is they lost track of all of these guns. These guns were traced to dozens of murders in Mexico. And on top of that is, there was also an American border agent that was actually killed by one of these guns from the ATF. So that's what the Operation Fast and Furious was. It was basically a disastrous operation. It just showed how incompetent the ATF is and how stupid the ATF is. It's such a terrible agency. Yeah. That's why, honestly, I can't take the ATF seriously when they try to pass gun laws or gun rules. They think that they're, like, elected officials, that they can just pass gun rules without an election, and yet they're the most careless when it comes to guns, ironically. Reddit Online Friday afternoon stream. Thank you, Austin, for the super chat. Thanks, man. And also, the worst part about the Operation Fast and Furious, the ATF gunwalking scandal, the worst part about it, nobody was ever arrested for this. Nobody was ever charged for this. Like, Eric Holder, who was the district attorney of the United States, the attorney general, he did not get arrested. Nobody got arrested. Nobody got charged. Eric Holder was a huge part of it. So, like, the fact that nobody in the government got arrested for that, like, it's basically, you know when you hear that saying, when people say, like, we investigated ourselves and we found that we did nothing wrong, that is that. That the Operation Fast and Furious is a perfect example of that. That's what that is.
You don't belong there. Stop. Hey, be off with you.
Enough.
Enjoy your last moments alive.
Untie me, you shit. Pero quede uno. Cabrón.
Getting way better with free aim now. Yeah, way better with free aim. I think I already asked, but what do you think of the GTA 6 story getting rejected twice in early development because it was too dark? What's the proof of that though, Austin? Like, where is that coming from? Like, I keep hearing people say that, but what is the source of that? Like, I heard people, I heard people say that, not just you, a few people, but like, where are people getting this from? Thank you, Austin, for the super chat. In The Sopranos, was Tony wrong for killing Salvatore Bonpensiero? No. Because Salvatore basically took an oath, he knew the risks, and he violated it.
Por Dios.
Eric Holder actually got a contempt of Congress citation for Operation Fast Furious. It's not enough. It's not enough. I think, he should have been arrested. I think he should have been, removed from his position. Like, that was, like, like, literally, if anybody sold guns to the cartels, they would be facing numerous years in prison. But when the government does it, no consequences for it. Micah gets blamed for a lot of, things. But, for someone I found mentioned, Dutch and Hosea don't get blamed enough. Especially Hosea with the Braithwaites. I guess it's because Hosea was a little bit more level-headed about it. And also, at the end of the day, it was Dutch's idea to rob both the Braithwaites and the Greys. That was Dutch's idea. Hosea kind of helped him with the planning. If Hosea didn't help, the situation would have been way worse. I think that other people in the gang that we can blame I think that Bill Williamson and Javier Escuela, I think they have more fault for the gang collapsing than Hosea does. Hosea was the most level-headed person in the gang, the most reasonable person. Bill Williamson couldn't think for himself. He couldn't think for himself. And Javier Escuela was just too blindly loyal to Dutch. Like, no matter what Dutch said, Javier would do it. And that was the problem, is it was blind, it was like, you had one character who was a complete idiot, like Williamson, and then you had another character that was blind loyalty. So that's basically what the problem was with Bill Williamson and with, Javier. Like, literally, I think that Javier is a pretty bad person, because, like, some people like Javier, but what they don't understand about Javier is that if Dutch basically told Javier to go into a town and shoot and kill everyone, like a bunch of civilians, he'd do it. Just because Dutch told him to do it. So that's what people don't understand about Javier, is that he was, he just followed Dutch's orders no matter what they were.
Get him alive just so we can string him high. Law's a funny old thing, ain't it?
Good luck to your friend Tiz at college. Jaden. Do you remember the 2011 PlayStation Network outage? I remember that. That happened for like 3 weeks. Yeah, I remember that. Everybody was talking about that at school. I was in high school when that happened. Everybody was talking about it. I remember even our teacher talked about it. He complained about it because he played PlayStation. So that was, yeah, that... Yeah, so I remember when that whole thing happened. And then I remember we got a bunch of free games afterwards. Like, I remember I got Infamous 1. That's how I got that game for free. It was from that afterwards. Thank you, FR1HN, for the super chat. No, I don't know who Salvatore Dale is. Would I consider to get a Switch 2 to play missed exclusives and classics via online? You could also capitalize on the Oscarina of Time remake this fall, something people have been waiting for a long time. What is that game? The thing about a Switch, James, you just have to join my posse. There's an open spot for you. Hang on, let me see here, posse members. Let me just make some spots here open. One game that I'm hoping one day gets made on the Switch is Mega Man Legends 3. If that game ever got made, I would buy a Switch 2 just for that. Just so I could play that game. Yeah, but Hosea had okayed the plan. Dutch's plan of handling the Greys at first was actually pretty good, I think. Bill gets clowned on for the TNT fail. Thank you, Alien, for the super chat. I mean, I guess, but there was times where Dutch would not listen to Hosea at all. Like, remember when Hosea told he told Dutch that the he told him that the train robbery was going to be the train station robbery, the one in Saint Denis that Bronte set them up with. He said that that was going to be a trap, but Dutch went for it anyways. Do you ever believe Salvatore went after CJ after San Andreas? No, he couldn't, because of CJ's connections to the Triads, and also because of Salvatore was fighting a war against the Forellis and the Sindacos. So CJ was the last thing on his mind. He was fighting for survival at that point. Hey Trab, do you think you can play GTA Vice City and Vice City Stories before GTA 6 comes out? Oh yeah, we'll do them. What I'm thinking about doing is when I play through Vice City, again, I'm thinking about doing the next gen edition, you know, the PC one, the one with the GTA 4 engine, the Rage engine. I'm thinking about doing that. What caused the PlayStation outage? Oh, today? I have no idea. I know the 2011 one was done by hackers, but the one that happened today, I don't know. But it just goes to show you that you don't really truly own digital, you see? You don't truly own it, do you? Well, the Leones are more the Mafia, but I just call them Salvatore. I just say it's the boss, Shiny. Hi, Kaminari. Hey, Pro, I remember beating Outlast 2 for the first time. I was pretty shocked at the ending. It's a lot more darker than the first. Yeah. Did you understand the ending, by the way, Cookie? Did you understand what happened in the ending? Because the ending is a bit confusing at first, but it's, the pieces are there if you look for it. Hey Pro, I was looking to play GTA 4 again. Is it better on PS3 or PC? I've heard it's unoptimized. GTA 4 would run the best on PC. I haven't really had that many issues on PC. On PlayStation, I know there's like frame tearing, like especially in the online. Like if you play like online matches on the PS3 and like you get everybody in like the same area, like you will have frames drop so much. But on Xbox, I didn't have as much frame tearing when I played GTA 4, so like, when I play on my Xbox Series X and I play GTA 4 on that, there really isn't any, frame tearing on that. Thank you, LARP, for the super chat. Love your channel, man. Are you gonna make any Red Dead Redemption 2 lore videos? Love the GTA ones. Yeah, I could. If I do a playthrough of it again, I could do it. I do want to do one before GTA 6 comes out. If I was gonna do another lore video, I think I'd want to do one on Strauss. That's why I probably would want to do one. The guy who sends Arthur to collect money. Love your channel, man. And thank you, Hussy, for the super chat. Thank you, Jake Hunter. Hey, Pro, back when PS3 was the main console, did you own the original backwards compatibility 60GB PS3 console? Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I still have it, but it doesn't work, because it got the yellow light of death. That was, like, PS3's equivalent of, like, red ring of death. That was pretty bad. Did I know the US government used PS3s to power their computers back then or something? No, I didn't hear about that ever, Shiny Knight. And thank you, James Burns and Shiny Knight, for sponsoring my channel. Thank you, James Burns, for sponsoring my channel for almost 3 years, and thank you, Shiny Knight, for being a member for almost a year. Love your videos. Any chance you'll play God of War one day? Yeah, and if I played God of War, it would definitely be an interesting series, because I never played the games, so it'll be my first time playing them. Thank you, Hope, with, Mutunzi, if I'm reading that correctly. Okay, Austin, I'll call you that. Then, we got the FG-42 in Black Ops 7 multiplayer. The German World War II paratrooper battle rifle, that's in Black Ops 7? What? I don't think I've ever had Krispy Kremes. Yes, I'll still play True Crime New York. On 1 to 10, how bad of a boss Skinny Malone is from Fallout 4? Well, he has empathy, which does help, but he's also really stupid and dumb. Have I watched Smiling Friends and Adult Swim? I don't think I have, Almighty Sweet Upon. Thank you for the super chat. What GTA 5 characters are pure evil or broken? In GTA 5, evil characters are Mr. Faber. You have, El Rubio. Devin Weston in a way, kind of, too. But Devin Weston is, weak, too. You're not blocked, Are you gonna play both Dead Rising and Saints Row for their 20th anniversary next month? Alright, Saints Row has its 20th anniversary, right, coming up. Yeah. We can play it. It'll be fun. What date did Saints Row, come out on? Saints Row 1, what date was the anniversary? What day is it? And thank you, Ghost Studio Comics. It's crazy how Salvatore could have still been okay, especially with two one-man armies, Tony and Claude, but Maria and his paranoia turned him stupid. Yeah, I think he was too paranoid for his own good, Alien. Have I ever played Helldivers 2? Yes, I have. A little bit. Not much, but I played. I forgot the protagonist. What?
Well, fine then.
Yes, I will, Jimmers. I'm going to figure out how to contact him, though. August 29th for Saints Row. Okay. Okay. Favorite Texas-style meal? Probably barbecue. Yeah, probably barbecue. What's my main complaint with the Guarma chapter? Maybe that's kind of short. You can't really explore it. Another retail horror stories reaction. I could do something like that. Yep. I might do Wolverine first, Blinded Eagle on that. Have I ever played Assassin's Creed 3? Yes, and I beat it. I think they should both be disbanded, topped. August 8th for Dead Rising. Okay.
What do you think you're doing? Get out! Send Chris! Get away, damn it! I'm gonna kill you, son!
Okay. What's my favorite weapon in GTA 5 story mode at, Maybe the Assault SMG. I don't know, I just didn't like the guns as much in GTA 4, GTA 5 as I did 4. Like, 4, I like the guns way more. Oh, bounty target's dead. I didn't mean to do that, but... Trying to shoot the horse, but he's died too. Okay. Damn. Ride to Hell Retribution. Yeah, I could play that one day too.
What in the hell? I'm gonna kill you, son.
Why don't you upload or try uploading daily? I do try my best to upload daily. I always try to upload something every day. And why don't I hire editors? Because I like to do everything usually myself. I don't know. I just don't know if I had an editor. I don't know if they would have the same vision as me. Some of my guns in this game I painted, but not a lot. Would I consider Texas Roadhouse? Yeah. How well can I handle jump scares? It depends. Usually, usually the games that tend to scare me a bit more are the games where you can't fight back. Like, games where you can actually kill, like, the threat. I'm not really usually scared of. It's like more the games where you have to run away and hide that I find those games a little bit more terrifying. Also, you didn't mention Molly when you did the Dutch lore video. Yeah, he kind of pushed her away, in a way, too. I appreciated Blinded Eagle, but I think I'm fine, though. I always just like to edit my own stuff. What do you theorize could be the reason why Rockstar decided to forgo modifying the cut? In the Court Center heist? Probably because people would take like an 85% cut, and they'd be able to do it really quickly. Probably that. And they'd be able to get the challenge done. Wait, what happened with the Argentina soccer team? What happened now? Do I want World War II guns in GTA 6? I wouldn't mind some old-style guns, too. I'll be fine with that. Have I ever played the Dead Space games? No, I've watched some people play it before in the past, though.
Easy there.
What are your opinions on the Pinkertons in story mode? I think that they were pretty accurately portrayed. The Pinkertons were scumbags in real life. And what the number one thing that people the number one thing that people don't understand about the Pinkertons is people think the Pinkertons are cops. The Pinkertons are not cops. The Pinkertons are basically mercenaries. That's essentially what they are. They are private cops for hire. So like what happened was when a lot of these states were growing, like especially out west, the governments in these states, they basically hired private police instead of making their own police. That's what it was. And the Pinkertons would basically be given like, you know, deputized and be given like, you know, police powers, but they weren't actual police. They were given powers by the state, but they were basically a private company. They were a private company that has been, you know, outsourced to uphold the law. And there was massive problems with them. They caused a lot of problems. Like Pinkertons were scumbags. They were not good people. So like there's so much corruption. There was a lot of bad things going on with them. They were just not nice people in general too. They sued Rockstar in real life. I know they did, and they failed.
Thanks you for your work.
Doesn't no cuts discourage people from helping? In a way, too, Alien. Thank you for the super chat. Pro, I love you, man. You're a great guy, and you make amazing videos. Keep it up, mate. Thank you, Amber. Thank you. I appreciate that. A bit similar to Privateers in the Pirate Days. A little bit different, because the, I'll tell you why. The pirates back in the day, or the privateers, they were just civilians that had their own ships that would be able to attack the ships of other countries that they were at war with, where the Pinkertons had basically just full police power. Well, I don't know much about the founder. I know the founder was Pinkerton, but Pinkertons were also paid union busters, yes. The Pinkertons were paid to infiltrate unions. They would find out who was in the union to get people fired from jobs. They were also in charge of breaking up strikes. They would beat people up at strikes. The reason the Pinkertons were out in the West is because they actually got chased out of the East. Because they got a lot of states banned them. Like Ohio, for example, banned them from operating in the state at all. So like a lot of them went out West because of like new laws that like banned them. So, like, that was it. Like, they got chased out of the East because they caused so many problems. What submachine gun would you use in the Vietnam War, not including World War II weapons? That's easy. Suppressed MAC-10. It was perfect for the jungle environment. Favorite thing at a convenience store? Usually I go for the chips. Like, I eat way too much potato chips. I should stop, but I like potato chips. Hi, Minion Dave. Congrats on your GTA videos. You got really good views. Thank you, dude. I still got more guides coming out. Like, later today, I got a guide coming out on, or tonight, I should say, on the getaway vehicles. So I still got some more guides coming up on this, you know, on this heist. Do you like hot chips? Yeah, I can. Yeah. Rockstar confirmed a new Reddit Online update. Did they really? Anomalous, are you pranking me right now? Jackson's, they have good potato chips and avocado oil with sea salt. That's it. Is avocado oil considered a seed oil? Is that one? Yeah, I knew you were joking, Anomalous. I'm 32, Zach. I need an iPhone 17 for max storage of 128 gigabytes, and my phone has 64 gigabytes. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get a new phone in September. The last time I got a new phone was November 2022. That's when I got a new phone. So it was some time ago. So it was like almost 4 years ago. But I usually only get a new phone every 4 or 5 years. Because I think it's a waste getting a new phone every year. I think it's a waste of money. But the crap. When it comes to the phone, my current iPhone is slower. It's not as fast as when it was originally, and it's also battery's dying quicker. So I was thinking about getting a new one. You look like an Android user? No, I use iPhone. I know that your avatar is from that, Vanny. From Five Nights at Freddy's. Have I played Simpsons Hit and Run? No, but I know it's like an open world game set in the Simpsons world. I heard about that. iPhone is making like a flip phone now. Bro, when you was 19, I was born. That would make what make then that means I was that means you're 13 then? What's the difference between a BAR and a Colt Monitor machine rifle? I've never heard of the second one. What iPhone do you have? I don't even know. I'm not a phone person, so I just... The iPhone 15 Pro Max, that's the one I have.
I'm just waiting for a job worthy of my talents to come along. Just stop! There's something bad for you.
Shit! There they are! Ah, good lord! Put some goddamn holes in them!
I know there's a lot of different ones, Shiny Knight.
What the hell?
Should I use handbrake or brakes in GTA 5?
Mother God!
Crap. When you're making a sharp turn, handbrakes. When you just want to stop brakes regularly.
To hell with all that. Piece of shit.
I might Drifter Kids. Well, Michael faked his death at the start of GTA 5.
Damn it, of course this happens to me again.
The FBI plotline in Sopranos. In which season? And which story exactly? Because there's a few of those.
Damn it all!
The SUV, the Cadillac Escalade. I don't know much about it. Thoughts on EA FC FIFA adding an open world for FIFA Cup 27? It feels like everyone just wants it on it nowadays. I don't get why, and it's still on PS4. Wait, adding an open world? What do you mean? How would that work in a FIFA game?
Oh, I bet that would.
What the hell?
Did you
I'm
not
gonna make
see
you
me?
regret this, you dumb piece of shit.
Hey! Hey, wait!
Hey Pro, how you been? What do you predict the next marketing of GTA 6 will be? It's gonna be a trailer. It's gonna drop at a random time.
Cocksucking bastard.
I will say, I'm not trying to speculate here or anything when I say this, but there's a probability the next GTA 6 trailer was probably going to drop before August 7. The reason for that is because August 7 is Take-Two's earnings call, and it would kind of look weird if they did an earnings call without having any GTA 6 news whatsoever. So, like, that would kind of, like, look weird for the investors. So I think that probably before August 7, but don't quote me on that. I'm not, like, gonna say 100% I know or anything. Nothing could happen, too.
Job well and truly done. They're going to face a judge. How them coins look for your efforts?
Thank you, Blind Eagle, and thank you, Daniel Rodriguez. Thank you for that super chat, too. You have a created player? Okay. Semi-open, huh. Digital doesn't mean ownership, yep. That's true. Spot on with that. Do you think 2K Hangar's going to make Mafia the Old Country 2? No. They are going to make, like, something that's going to be a sequel to Mafia the Old Country, but it might be actually even Mafia 4. Do I think Sony will reverse their physical games decision? No. I think they'll probably try to do damage control, but they're not going to reverse it, no. got here? Sabotage the moonshiner still.
Hey, get yourself gone from here. There, that's them. You dumb. It's time for you to go.
So, like, a lot of people don't know, you can actually do that mission stealth. And that's it, that's done. Okay. Have I finished a story in this game? Oh yeah, this game I have, yes. Well, Sony has to follow Japan's laws in Japan, but, no, they, have their different studio heads in different countries. In other countries, though...
Took care of that last thing?
Well, let's do boat theft.
Hell, I do not have the time to go over this with you. I'm busy for once. There's work to do. But take this note, and it'll tell you what you got to do. So go on, and do it now. Go on, then. Go ahead.
What's the matter with you, huh? Boom!
No, I wish he didn't, Dex. Do you think the Xbox could overtake the PlayStation? I don't know if overtake, but they could do some serious damage, definitely. If Xbox knows how to play their cards right, they will go, keep physical. Why don't I do a blood money mission? I could, but it kicks you out of private sessions when you do that, Valdo. I know Sony's from Japan, Shiny Knight, I know that. Or Austin, yeah. Oh, damn. I guess we'll see, though. You never know, Neon. They could change something. You heard about Halo? They bragged about their game being on disc and then made the campaign online only. What? Yeah, I made a video about the outage situation today with Sony. Yeah, it was a disaster. Yes, but Austin, what you're not understanding is that Sony is gonna follow different laws in the different countries they're in. Their main base is Japan, but like, you know, Sony America will have, you know, follow different laws than the Japanese laws. This is random, but thank you for your videos. I'm losing my teeth young due to illness and stress about jawbone loss every day. Gaming and your videos help distract me. I really appreciate you. Thank you, Delta Blake. I hope everything works out with you and you're healthy. I'm sorry about that, dude. I appreciate the support. Some historical question, but why did Truman threaten the Netherlands to cut off the Marshall Plan? I mean, I guess thanks for the for make Dutch out from Indonesia, but why though? I actually never knew about that. Let me Google that really quick. I'm curious because I never heard that before. Let's see. Let's see what Google says. Okay, so the reason that Truman was withholding Marshall Plan aid from the Netherlands is because the Netherlands refused to leave Indonesia. It says here that the Dutch police actions against the independence movement in their colony. That's figured what that was. The Netherlands tried to reestablish colonial rule over Indonesia after World War II. That is true. Fighting against the newly declared Republic of Indonesia led by Sukarno. In December 1948, the Dutch launched a major military offensive, the second police action, capturing Republican leaders and violating a previous truce. The American concerns, fear of communism. Washington worried that prolonged, heavy-handed Dutch imperialism would drive the Indonesian nationalist movement into the arms of communists. 100% true in that. What a lot of these European colonial powers, they were idiots. What they did was they drove a lot of former colonies into the Soviets' hands. They did. So Truman was smart, is that Truman knew not to antagonize, countries that were trying to seek their independence. He followed FDR's policy. Misuse of funds. U.S. leaders and Congress felt it was wrong to use American financial recovery funds to indirectly finance a colonial war. Yeah. Pressure to comply, the Truman administration used the threat of suspending vital Marshall Plan dollars to force Netherlands into a ceasefire and negotiate transfer of sovereignty to Indonesia. So yeah, so Truman was 100% justified in withholding Marshall Plan aid from the Netherlands. 100% justified on that. The Netherlands shouldn't have been in Indonesia. It was not their business. It was not their country. So he was justified in withholding that aid. Okay. Let's see here. Let's go. I'm gonna head back to Blackwater. Favorite thing to eat at a Chinese restaurant? Shrimp. Yes, I know that one, Caton. The worst part about these politicians from both parties is that they're a bunch of spoiled brats. They constantly attack each other and throw tantrums. Yeah, and honestly, I will tell you this. I don't think that, that politicians in general care about this country. I think that, if I was president, I would pass a lot of laws that would stop a lot of this nonsense. No money in politics. Large corporations should not be able to fund political campaigns. Also, ban politicians from the stock market. Do not let politicians trade stocks while they are in office. That is market manipulation. You could also argue it's insider trading. But yeah, and the thing is what people don't understand is that both parties generally do this. So this is one party. Both parties do this. You have very top Democrats and very top Republicans who both became millionaires in just a few years of becoming politicians. And it's like, how does somebody who goes into political office, how does somebody like that become a millionaire in a couple of years? The whole purpose of becoming a politician, the whole purpose of that is to serve your country. That's the whole purpose of that. It's to actually provide a service for your country. You're a servant of the people. That's what you are elected for. It's not to enrich yourself. And I will tell you is politicians should not be able to trade stocks. And what happens is they should also not be able to increase their wages. They should not be able to vote to increase their wages. How much a politician should make is politicians should just make a little bit above the bare minimum, enough to pay their bills, pay their rent, pay off their, pay off their car, stuff like that, but not more than that. Like, just enough to basically be able to survive, pay your bills, eat, stuff like that. It should not be more than that. That's the way I see it. Nobody should be making more than that. Yes, Fallout is getting remakes. Yes, I heard about that. I'm excited. Did you hear a few years ago this son called the cops on his mom for kicking him out? He had a bench warrant, and the cop not only said she can't do that, but you know who really got arrested? The mom? What? If he had a bench warrant, he probably is, if he has a bench warrant, then, he's probably an adult. And so, like, she can kick him out of the house. The only way that, here's the thing is, the only way that parents can get arrested for kicking their child out of their house is if that child is under 18. If they're under 18, the parent can get arrested for that, very much so. But if they're over 18, in most places, there really is no consequences for that. The only way they would get arrested is if that person was also on the deed. So if their son or daughter was, like, on the deed, like the deed to the property, like they were a part owner, and then they got kicked out, then yes, that would be illegal, and they'd get arrested for that. But if they're not on the deed and they're an adult, then they're not going to get, the parents aren't going to get arrested for kicking them out. Thank you, Blinded Eagle. You know, speaking of which, I saw, like, when we're talking about stupid cops, I saw this video, like, it happened, like, a couple weeks ago. Did anybody else see this video? Somebody probably saw the video. It went viral like a couple weeks ago, but it basically happened in Britain. I don't know exactly where in Britain it was. The only thing I know is in Britain. And basically what happened was there was this, like, young adult. I don't know if he was a teenager or he was, like, a young adult, but he was, like, around that age, like 18, 19. He basically got assaulted by a bunch of people. Like, just on the street. Like, there was a video of it. Like, this people was beating him up, kicking him, punching him. And what happened was a female police officer, she came out of nowhere and just rushed into the area, and she pushed that kid against the wall. And that kid didn't realize that it was a cop that was pushing him against the wall because he thought that the mob was still, you know, beating him up, and he punched the cop in the face, and then he ended up getting arrested for that. Like, but if you watch, like, the whole video, like, literally, the people who were beating him up, they ran away. The police didn't make any attempt to arrest them, and then the guy who was fighting back against the people beating him up ended up getting arrested over that whole thing. And then what ended up happening is the video went viral on Twitter. On Twitter, it went viral, and then the British police, they made a tweet. They made an official tweet on their Twitter account, and they said that our officer followed, you know, correct procedure and everything like that. And then the Twitter thing, the community notes fact-checked the police and said that the police are not telling the truth, that the kid was getting attacked by multiple people and he was the one who got arrested. Like, literally, the Twitter fact-checked the police, and then the police responded to that fact-check and said that they were wrong or something like that, and that our officer's actions were perfectly fine. They said something along those lines. And then the police also asked people to stop sharing the video. Does anybody know what video I'm talking about? Like, it happened like a couple weeks ago. Like, there was this kid getting beat up, and then like the British police officer arrested the kid that was getting beat up instead of the people that were beating him up. Like, it was such a stupid video. I saw it, like, I was like, is this cop stupid or something? Like, are they dumb? Like, oh, you've seen the video, Flaming Eel, so you know what I'm talking about. Like, that cop was dumb. That cop was an idiot. Like, I don't know what the police were thinking. How long will you be live for? About another hour. I'm gonna go with my friends to see that Young Washington movie later tonight. So we're gonna see that movie. It's gonna be like around like 10:30 when it's gonna start 10:15. So I'm gonna go and see that movie with my friends. I haven't been to the movie theater in like years, but a Young Washington is a movie I want to see. So Henry Novak was a different case, but that one was even worse, way worse. Like you know, he got stabbed and then the police didn't believe him. I saw the video. It was hard to watch. It was horrible. It was just horrible. The police didn't believe him, and I remember the worst part of that video is when the cop, when he says he's been stabbed, he's asking the police for help, and then the cop says, "I don't think you have, mate," and just handcuffs him. They handcuffed a bleeding kid who got stabbed multiple times. It's horrible. Horrible. They believed that the killer is just horrible. Wait, what, Cookie? I didn't know that. Did you see Fallout is getting a remake in Elder Scrolls 6? Yes, I know that, Valdo. That I know. Hear about an incident where a gay man, 18 in Brazil, gave his dying homophobic father who kicked out his gay son one of his kidneys, and he died soon after. The father didn't go to funeral. Oh my god, that's just horrible. That's a scumbag. That's horrible. That's horrible. How can you not go to your own kid's funeral, especially after your kid saved your life? That's just, oh my god, that's horrible. That's just, some people are just so heartless. Well done on your true crime Streets of LA playthrough. Thank you, Pierce Jones. Thank you. Hello, Pro. What's up? I'm doing good, Infinity Daniel. How are you, dude? It's fine, Austin. I've never had Indonesian food. I don't know. I don't know what it's like. I've had Japanese food before. I'm assuming Indonesian food revolves around a lot of seafood too. I enjoyed the video of you killing all those guards. It was satisfying. Thank you.
There they are.
Yo, how's it going? Just got my new apartment and moved in. Oh, how... I hope it's going good for you, Zach. Thank you. Thank you for the super chat.
¿Crees que puedes conmigo? A mí nadie puede matarme. You don't want to do this. You must be dumb as a... You gonna pay for this?
Are you interested in any current upcoming racing games like Night Runners, Alpha, and Clutch? And I can't wait to see you play Trepang someday. Thank you, Troy Powers. I've never heard of these games like Night Runners and Clutch. What kind of racing games are they? Oh my god, there's so many people coming in. Damn, a Maxim would have cut down that cactus. I remember in Red Dead Redemption 1 you could blind fire, but not in this one. Okay. Getting way better with the free aim. What's my favorite GTA 5 mission? Minor Turbulence. The mission where Trevor hijacks the cargo plane. Thank you, Infinity Daniel. Pro, how hard is it to get a driver's license in the U.S.? For me in the UK, we have to test theory and practical practice. Hard test is 40 minutes. Lucky I pass. Well, and thank you, FR. Every single state has different procedures on it. So in the US, we don't do it federally. We do our license by state. The state is the one that gives you the license. But how it worked, when I got my license, I don't know if anything's changed in New York, but how it worked when I got my license is that you could go to the DMV, which is the Motor Vehicle Government Building, and you take like a 10-question test, basically. If you pass that 10-question test, you get your permit right away. Like, they give it to you right away. They give you a paper, and then they'll ship the permit to you in the mail. But right now, I know they have like those machines where they can just print out the permit for you right away. But back then, it was like they would ship it to the mail, to your mail. And if you failed the test, you could come back and retake it after a couple of weeks. If you pass it, you get the permit. What the permit does is the permit lets you drive, any car, generally, as long as it's not a commercial, truck or something like that. Any car, as long as there is a person with a license in the passenger seat with you. So that is how that works. And what happens is, I got my permit, and then there was a parking lot that was like half a mile from, our house. And me and my dad would drive there, and my dad would teach me how to drive. And the parking lot was actually connected by, like, a few side streets, and, like, the side streets would go directly through the parking lot, and there was, like, a light there, there was, like, a stop sign, and, like, nobody would ever drive there. Like, it was, like, an empty place. And my dad would just teach me how to drive. It was, like, the perfect location, and he taught me how to drive there for, like, I think close to a year. And then what happened was every day after school, my dad would pick me up with a car, and then I would be driving, and I'd drive home, and then that's how we would practice also driving at the same time. And then after, like, a year, I took the license test, and I passed it, right away.
Hey, what the hell is this?
You plan on watching the new Odyssey? I don't know. I'm not much into the fantasy films. I'm gonna see Young Washington tonight. That one I'll see, though. The PlayStation service should be invited by Rhonda Willington Lloyd and added to the geek list. She thinks an all-digital future is so uncool. Sony really messed up today. Night Runners is about an underground car culture, illegal street racing bets, and an in-between for the Simcade genre. Clutch isn't far off from that. Trepang is a Fear 1 spiritual successor. Horror and bullet time-based FPS. Oh, it's a... Oh, okay. Do these racing games have, like, a story to them, too? And thank you, Troy Powers. Like, are there, like, gangs and stuff? You said, like, it's illegal street racing, so are there, like, criminals in these games? How long is the license test? It can take, like, an hour. Basically, when I took the license test, how it worked is we pulled up to a parking lot, and the parking lot that we pulled up to, like, there was like the teacher there, and everybody would pull up in their car. The parent would get out, and then the person would drive with the instructor for, like, a couple blocks. The instructor would tell you where to go, where to turn, stuff like that in general. And then they would tell you to parallel park, and then that was it. And the driving itself was like 10 minutes, but the whole, waiting to get in line was probably like an hour. Sorry about that, I had a phone call for a moment. What are your honest thoughts and opinions on Reddit Online PvP? I think that the PvP is a bit better than GTA Online. Especially, you don't have that many overpowered things. But I will say that, the Hell Let Loose Vietnam open playtest is going on right now. I might play that. I might play that maybe tomorrow. What is it? Crap, I'm losing my track of thought here. About, damn, hang on 1 second here. Catch up some of these comments. The parallel parking part of the test is stupid. I never liked it. And the thing is, I have never once had to parallel park. I know how to do it, but I never had to do it. I've never had to parallel park. I don't like the idea of parallel parking. It's just to me, like, you have to have the space measurement correct, and it's like, sometimes people park too close, and then if you parallel park, somebody else could scratch your car. I never liked it. One day I'll play them, Visionary. What movie, TV show is the best depiction of Teddy Roosevelt? That series that was around him. That was around him recently. I don't remember the name of it. That was probably the most accurate one. You know, I don't think we'll ever get a leader like Teddy Roosevelt ever again. I don't think we'll ever have a president like that ever again.
Move along.
Oh, damn. What do you know about Teddy Roosevelt and the Rondon expedition in the Amazon? I know that he went on an expedition in the Amazon when he lost the 1912 presidential election. He went on an expedition in the Amazon, and that kind of destroyed his health. I know that. He never fully recovered from that. What are good things that Teddy Roosevelt did? The food safety inspectors, so health inspectors. So whenever restaurants have health inspectors today, Teddy Roosevelt is behind that. Just think about that. So he made sure that restaurants, you know, be checked regularly, that, you know, food would be safe. He cleaned up the meat packing industry, which was really dirty. He created the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. So, you know, when you whenever you look at something on the bag, on the back, I actually have like potato chips I had here earlier, but when you look at like the label, like the nutrition labels, everything on that, then that is Teddy Roosevelt who did that too. Teddy Roosevelt also ended the Russo-Japanese War. He ended that war too. He created the wildlife natural parks. He did a lot for this country. I actually read Teddy Roosevelt's book like a month ago called Americanism. I actually finished it. He actually wrote a pretty decent book. Let me see here. I never played a lot of GTA 5 because I'm closer to 4, but the missions that look cool are Merryweather Heist, Option C, and Franklin's Contract. Yeah, but the thing about GTA 5 is GTA 5, like, went much more crazy with the action. Like, it really did that. Thank you, Infinity Daniel. So yeah, GTA 5, you can just tell the formula is just so much different. Also about Teddy Roosevelt, what about JFK? JFK didn't really get to do that much. He was a decent guy at heart. But I think that I will tell you something. I do think that JFK messed something up like really badly. JFK had a few foreign policy blunders, like some bad ones, that a lot of people don't know about. I'll explain what. So like, what I think that JFK's worst foreign policy blunder, where he really messed up, was it was the Bay of Pigs invasion. So for people that don't know what the Bay of Pigs invasion was, the Bay of Pigs was shortly after the Cuban Revolution. It was like a year or two after. I think it was 1961 where it happened. But what happened is a bunch of Cuban exiles, people who had fled after, Castro came to power, a lot of them were in Florida, and the U.S. government had basically armed them, trained them, and had basically given them, like, light infantry tanks, some APCs, and sent them on the southern coast of Cuba, the Bay of Pigs. And the idea of this was that they were going to launch an invasion, and that the population would rise up against Castro, and that Castro would fall apart. But the Cuban exiles were not bad people. The communists a lot of times depict them as being like evil people, selfish, like greedy capitalists, but that's not true. A lot of the Cuban exiles that actually fought in the Bay of Pigs were actually former revolutionaries. They were people that actually fought on the side of the revolution in the Cuban Revolution, but they didn't fight for a communist dictatorship. They fought to overthrow Batista. And so like a lot of them were actually fought on the same side as Castro, but then they got exiled when Castro, and they didn't agree with communism in Cuba. They didn't want Cuba to become a communist country. So the CIA messed up because they basically sent them on the Bay of Pigs, which the Bay of Pigs was a very swampy, rocky area. A lot of their tanks got stuck. The Cuban exiles got surrounded. They got cut off. And what the Cuban exiles were begging for is they were begging for American air support. They were begging for that. And the U.S. Did not provide that. The U.S. did not want to get involved in that. And then the CIA, when all the Cuban exiles got captured and they got tortured in Cuban prisons, the CIA basically betrayed all of them and said, like, oh, we don't know who these people are. We have nothing to do with them. And literally, they let all those people get tortured. So what Kennedy could have done is Kennedy could have used the Air Force. Florida is literally just not very far from Cuba. Kennedy should have literally sent the American Air Force in and just decimated the Cuban army. He should have done that. Normally, I don't support intervention in other countries' affairs, but, like, that was, like, the communist government on Cuba could have been toppled if, like, the Bay of Pigs invasion was supported with air support, but Kennedy didn't want to send in the air support. He didn't. If he sent in the air support, he could have wiped the entire Cuban army out, and then the Cuban exiles could have pushed up, and they could have possibly even reached Havana. That could have happened. So, like, it was like, a mistake that Kennedy said, I don't want to send in the Air Force. He should have done it. The Soviets weren't in Cuba yet. They weren't able to build missile sites. There was no Soviet presence in Cuba yet. So, literally, Kennedy could have, I think one of the big mistakes is Kennedy didn't send in the Air Force to, like, wipe them out, because he could have done that. And then Cuba today would not have been a communist country, but, you see the communists, how well they've run Cuba. Literally, Cuba's so well run that their electrical grid constantly fails every couple months. They have long lines for food, and people are all living in absolute poverty today. So it was a shame that failed. The other thing that Kennedy really messed up on is Kennedy really messed up on the Sino-Indian War. What basically happened was China invaded northern India when Kennedy was president. And they were trying to take over parts of northern India, which China still holds to this day. So parts of there are parts of northern India, or technically it's disputed between China and India. It's the same places where a lot of those border disputes happen between India and China. And China controls land that India recognizes as theirs. And personally, I agree with India here. I think that land belongs to India. I don't think that it belongs to China. So what happened was the Indian Prime Minister Nehru, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, he decided to get really friendly with the Chinese dictator Mao Zedong. And so India took a non-aligned approach during the Cold War, where they claimed that they weren't pro-Soviet or pro-West, but they were more, pro-East or pro-communist, I would say. They were more pro-China and more pro-Soviet at the time. Now, what happened is during the Korean War, when China attacked the U.S. during the Korean War, India blamed the U.S. for escalating that conflict, when in reality it was actually China who mostly escalated the conflict by attacking the U.S. and invading. And the U.S. got really pissed off at India for that, and they never forgot, India, getting involved in that conflict on that and blaming the U.S. for that. And what happened is when the China invaded India, the Indians were actually begging the U.S. for help. They were begging the U.S. to actually send them jets to provide support towards them, and the U.S. refused. The U.S. offered to give India jets, but they would not use American pilots. And the Indians didn't know how to fly the American jets because they didn't receive training in that. So, personally speaking, I think that Kennedy should have gotten involved, and I think he should have helped India. Because when he didn't help India, what ended up happening is China won the war. They took over a huge part of India. India blamed the U.S. They got even more angry at the U.S. And then that pushed India towards being more closer to the Soviets, because the Soviets hated the Chinese. So that was another foreign policy blunder. So like, Kennedy was not a perfect president. Yes, Kennedy was generally a good guy at heart. But he did make some serious foreign policy blunders, like especially like with India and Cuba. Like, he really messed up some things. Like, he didn't want to get involved in a lot of these situations. And I think in some of these situations, if he had gotten involved, the situation would have been turned out a bit better. Thank you, Infinity Daniel, for the super chat. Let me see here. Marilyn Monroe relationship with JFK. I don't know much about that. My favorite 50 Cent song is the theme song to Blood Money. It's a real song. When he's like singing money, money at the start of it. I forget the name of the song. That one is. It's been some time since I listened to his music, but is your lobby private? Yes, it is. Well, the reason that Vietnam's GDP grew so much is because the communists in Vietnam realized that their system didn't work. They realized that communism was a failure. So, like, the communists in Vietnam were at least smart, that they decided to open up their markets and they decided to start trading with the West, where the communists in Cuba were a bunch of idiots, where they isolated themselves, they didn't want to trade with the West, didn't really want to deal with the West, and they didn't want to do any economic reforms whatsoever. So that's why, you know, Cuba failed while Vietnam succeeded more of it better. It's called I Got Money. Oh, okay. That one, yes. My moonshine is ready. I can help you, Brandon.
Get this stuff. Hey, I'll find you, so I will.
Have you heard about the African country called Zaire, led by Mobutu Seko? Wait, Zaire. Zaire is a larger country. It's in southern Africa, is it not? It doesn't have a very large population, but it's a fairly large country. Am I getting that right? Or am I mixing it up with someone else? Bro, do you hate communists? Yeah, I don't like communists. So I don't generally like you know, authoritarians, and I hate fascists. I hate communists. I don't like people like that are on the far left. I don't like people that are on the far right. I don't like a lot of this nonsense, these political extremes. I don't like it in general. I'm a very libertarian-like person, so like I just cannot stand like fascists and communists. To me, it's the same garbage. You know, fascism and communism is both equally garbage. It's called the Democratic Republic of Congo now. Oh, okay, I messed it up then. Okay, I was thinking of something else then, sorry.
You dumb bastard.
I don't remember the Venezuela flag in Mercenaries 2, Gunner.
If these ones get free, they're going to kill me.
What are your thoughts on capitalism? I will describe capitalism basically how my professor described it in college. My professor in college, I remember, he said something I never forgot. And his statement, I never forgot his words. This is what he said. He said, capitalism is not a perfect system. It has flaws, but it's better than everything else that's been tried before in history. And that is true. That is 100% true. Capitalism is not a perfect system, it has issues, sure. You know, no system is perfect. But if you compare it to everything else that has been tried in history before, everything else, it's always been it's been successful to it. You know, if you look at like communism, no comparison. Capitalism is clearly a superior system. You look at like mercantilism, capitalism is a much better system than mercantilism. Mercantilism just scammed people. It caused people to get scammed constantly. People lost money because of it. You compare capitalism to feudalism. Feudalism was a disaster. Feudalism, people were exploited, taken advantage of in feudalism, way worse than in capitalism. You had like the peasantry that was absolutely abused by the aristocracy. You have like fascism, where it depends on the fascist country, but generally fascist countries are a controlled economy, like Nazi Germany was, and their economies were, the companies were while they were allowed to exist, they were directly controlled by the state, and the purpose of them was to benefit the state and nothing else. That was and that was a disaster as well too. And I'm trying to think of any other economic system. And then you also have a theocracy, where a theocracy runs their economy based on religion, which is just a terrible and stupid idea. So that's so like literally there have been so many economic systems, not just communism. There have been so many other economic systems that have tried to compete with capitalism before, and every single one it was a disaster. Every single one. That's the reason why most countries in the world are capitalist countries today. You don't really see fascist, communist countries really existing much anymore. You don't see like these much of these theocracies, though some of them exist. You don't really see mercantilism much anymore. You certainly don't see feudalism. That doesn't exist anymore because all these systems were failures. They were disasters. Well, I will tell you, my dad grew up in a communist country. He grew up in communist Eastern Europe, and my dad has always said the exact same thing. My dad says the same statement, and I remember what my dad says. I'd have to remember how he said it in Polish, but my dad would say, powinno być komunizm z Ameryce jeden dzień, bo Amerykanie by nauczyli się jaki to jest system, which basically, what that means in English is it translates to communism should exist in America for a single day so that Americans understand what kind of system it is. Now, my dad's not advocating for communism. What my dad is basically saying is he's saying that that America should be communist for just one day, just so that people understand how crap it is. That is what my dad was basically saying with that. Because it's like people preach communism all the time, but they don't even realize how destructive that system is. They don't understand the suffering that people have experienced under that system. Let me see. No problem. In your past videos, you criticize LBJ's actions on escalation in Vietnam. I know he did many things under his Great Society plan, but do his Vietnam policies overshadow his presidency? I think that I think that LBJ was in general not a good president. He really escalated the Vietnam War, like really did badly. The LBJ's greatest accomplishment is probably the Civil Rights Act. But it's really hard to praise him for the Civil Rights Act when he basically had kept America in such a terrible war. It's such a dumb and terrible war that he kept America involved in. So that's what I will say about him. So yes, it was good he did the Civil Rights Act, but it was he is forever remembered as the president who escalated the Vietnam War over the president who passed the Civil Rights Act. That is what he's most oftentimes remembered for. Thank you, Infinity Daniel. I do think, let me see here, what do you think about liking capitalism yet despising the big corporations and billionaires? Oh, I like capitalism, but I despise a lot of corporations and a lot of billionaires. I do. So it's, I hate a lot of elitists. I do. I don't like elitists in general. So it's, I support more like French revolutionary ideas, like classical liberalism, like from the French Revolution, basically, capitalism in general. But like, I don't like the idea of like elitists and stuff like that. So that is, so yeah, so just because, I support free market, I support capitalism, doesn't mean that I would like a lot of these corporations and a lot of these, very like, rich billionaires. Breaking, Kratos is getting a third God of War title. He is? Isn't there like that new God of War coming out where where you play as that one female god? Forget the name of it. Have you heard of corporatism? Corporatism is basically what a lot of fascist countries were. They described themselves as corporatism. Like Mussolini described fascist Italy as a corporatist economy. That was So you like social democracies? No. No, it's more more libertarianism that I like in general. Like, when I say classical liberalism, like people are confused what that means. That means generally free markets, less government intervention, smaller government, also separation of church and state, things like that. Like, not a lot of people hold those views anymore today. They're more rare. Okay. Okay, let's get this guy here next. Okay. Let's get this guy here. What do you think of China, Pro? The only reason that China has been able to grow as an economy is because of its free market reforms. That's the primary reason. But I would not describe China as a capitalist country. It is certainly not a capitalist country. China is more of a socialist market economy. That's what it is. Not communist. But China operates socially, very much like a dictatorship, very much like a communist country. Economically, it is socialist, but market in nature. China, what a lot of people don't know about China is that in China, there is no such thing as owning land. Like, you cannot own land in China. All land in China is actually owned by the state, by the government. Now, when you purchase land, like, let's say that you purchase, like, a condo in China, right? Let's just say that you actually purchased a condo. You're not renting, you actually purchased a condo. What happens is you are not purchasing the property deed to that condo. You are actually purchasing a lease on that condo from the government. And the government lease expires after 50 years. So for 50 years, you can basically do what you want with the condo, but then after 50 years, the government is taking it. So that is it. So that 50-year time hasn't passed yet since the Chinese government implemented that. We don't know what's going to happen after 50 years. But the fact that the government can just take your property after 50 years, I don't like the idea of that. I hate that. That to me is not a free market society. So, like, no. And I will tell you something. China in general scares me. It does. Like, China scares me as a country. Like, I like Chinese history, and I like Chinese culture. Like, I read a lot about Chinese history, especially about the, the nationalists, how they fought against the Japanese during World War II. But while I admire, like, China's resistance against Japan throughout its history, the modern day state of China, like, scares me. Like, it's so authoritarianism, like, the social credit score, like, the fact that people get, like, a credit score, like, just that, you get, like, points for how loyal you are to the regime. I don't like that. It terrifies me, personally. And also, I will say this, is, like, Vietnam, who was historically, like, America's, like, enemy, like, if I visited Vietnam, I would feel 100 times more safer visiting Vietnam than I would China. Because usually that stuff doesn't happen in Vietnam. Now, Vietnam, yes, it's a dictatorship, and it's run by the Communist Party, but, like, in Vietnam, tourists are not arrested routinely like they are in China. Like, in China, like, foreign tourists get arrested for, like, the stupidest, dumbest things. Like, just really ridiculous things that they try to throw charges at people for. In Vietnam, generally, tourists are treated with respect. They aren't harassed. Even if you're an American, they're not going to harass you. But, like, in China's something different. So, like, China's personally always scared me as a country. I don't have anything against the people or the culture, but it's like that government, as long as the Communist Party of China is in power, I will never visit that country. Never. So as long as the Communist Party is in power in China, I'll never visit the country. I'll visit Vietnam. I won't have a problem visiting Vietnam, but I'll never visit China as long as the current Communist Party in China is in power. Ever. Let me see here. Missed a few comments. Night Runners has gang-controlled parking lots, meets loan sharks who threaten to scrap your car, parking garages that may scrap your car if you don't pay in time, and you can buy houses. Really? Can you walk around in the house? How does that work? And has this game come out yet, Troy? This game is interesting me a lot. It's really interesting to me. When is this game out? Thank you, Troy, for the super chat. What's your opinion on the LARP situation? What you mean, live-action roleplay? If someone LARPs or impersonates your channel, how would you deal with it? Well, people have already done it. It's happened already, Infinity Daniel. The thing is, if people want to, like, make jokes and parody of me, I really don't care, for the most part. It's free speech. And there was this guy that was going around, and what he was doing is he was using an AI voice of me. So like there was this one channel out there. I don't know if the channel still exists, but there was like this idiot who basically he dressed up as my GTA character, and he used an AI voice like changer to impersonate my voice and make it seem like I was saying like nasty things that I wasn't, and he was just going around griefing people and harassing people on GTA. That happened like I know a couple years ago, but I don't know if that garbage is still around. But I could have struck the channel if I wanted to, like I could have struck and had the channel deleted if I wanted to, but the reason I didn't make like a strike against him for YouTube system is because I thought, you know what? If I make a strike against this guy, it's just gonna give this guy more attention. It's gonna give him more attention. Then he's gonna upload videos saying, "Oh, professional struck me," and it's gonna show that that I was like so offended that I took it upon myself to do this. So at that point, I basically decided, it's not worth it. I'm not gonna like react or anything. I'm just gonna ignore it, and just people can tell it's not me. I don't need to strike a channel for people to tell it's not me. They can see it's an AI voice. It's not really me doing those things. So that's that's the way I see it personally. I have what is it? I had this one idiot who I know made like a video once of me, and he was making fun of me saying like he just made like a video of that just making fun of my voice and stuff like that. But I again, I could have struck the channel if I wanted to. I could have complained to YouTube and had like YouTube remove the video for like harassment. But the reason I don't do that stuff is, again, it would give the guy attention. And even though he's making fun of me, it technically is free speech. It's free speech if you're being made fun of. It still is technically. So that's the way that I look at it personally. Is it is a form of free speech technically. Even though it's making fun of me, it's not nice. It still is a form of free speech, and I'm big on free speech. I'm a free speech absolutist, so that's the way I see it. I don't even ban people from my chat who make fun of me or talk crap to me, so like that was it. Usually the only two things I really ban people from chat for is I ban people when they're trying to post a scam. So like when people are posting like weird links and stuff like that and telling people to click on a link, I'll ban them from chat because I don't want people getting scammed. And the other thing I'll ban people from chat for is racism. So like if I see somebody like come in with like a Hitler, avatar and start saying like, nasty things, I'm gonna kick them out of chat. But most of the time it is, when people are just even when they're insulting me, talking crap to me, in general, I'm not gonna like, kick them out of chat. So that's the way I do things on my channel personally. A lot of CCCP agents have infiltrated universities. That's why they are so messed up now. Yes, and that is true. It is a scam that China does. China is very common with it. I don't know why China does it so much, like compared to a lot of other countries. But basically, what happens is there are Chinese couples that come to America like as tourists, and what they do is they give birth in America, and then that child gets citizenship. And what happens is that couple, the second that that child is born, they get citizenship, they immediately go right back to China. They don't stay in America, they immediately go right back to China. Then what they will do is they will send that child here to America 20 years later when they're a young adult, and they'll send them to like an American university. And for all we know, that person could be a spy. For all we know, they could very much be a spy. We don't know. China's government is hostile towards the US, and that person, while they might have American citizenship, they didn't grow up in America, they don't even have an American accent, they don't know anything about American culture. They're loyal primarily to China, not to America. So that is it. So even if they have citizenship, they could very much be spies. So like China does this a lot, where Chinese tourists will come over, they'll have kids, and here they'll get citizenship to go back to China, and then 20 years later they'll send them here to college. They do that a lot. That is very common from China. So I don't know what can really be done to stop that. I'm not an expert on that. But like that is a security threat. That is an issue that has been going on right now. Let me see here. I thought you should know I won't be buying a PS6, seeing what Sony announced. I'm moving on and we'll watch anime and play older games. We can hang out. Okay, Phoenix, that's fine. Are you gonna get a Xbox if it has a disc drive, the new one? Would you be considering getting that? Because if the new Xbox has a disc drive, I might consider actually switching to Xbox. It might be the first time in my life I've actually switched to Xbox, but if Xbox has a disc drive, I might actually do that. At least Xbox's backwards compatibility, I can play a lot of my favorite old games where I can't on PlayStation. That's crazy. I'd rather go original and not give energy to D-bags. It was nice chatting with you. I'll see you next time. Good night. Thank you, Infinity Daniel. I'll see you, dude. Take care, man. Thank you for the super chat. You have almost 400,000 in Red Dead. Yeah. Do you know how much? Do you know how much my money is equal to in real life? In this money, like $400,000 back then in this time period. You know how much money that would be? That would be. Let me count how much that would be exactly. Hang on, I gotta count this. 8 million. That money would be equivalent to about Hang on. That money would be equivalent, I think, to about $12 million. Let me see here. Yeah, a little bit under $12 million, but $12 million almost, exactly. So yes, that money, $392,000, would be close to $12 million in today's money. People don't understand how much more value the dollar had back then. A lot more. If you want to know how much money a single dollar was worth back then, in this time period, a dollar was worth around $30 in today's money. So, like, just think about that. If you had a dollar, $30, that's how much spending power you had. So, like, eating at an expensive restaurant would be like $2 back then. So, like, that's what it would be like. I'll see you, FR. Take care, man. Bro, did you see Hassan Piker was dressed as Chairman Mao while speaking at a college event for socialists? That guy is a piece of crap, honestly. I cannot stand that guy. And that guy is a perfect example of a far-left extremist. That's exactly what that guy is. Like, I cannot stand that loser. Like, you know, he's praising a guy who killed millions of people, created, you know, a horrible secret police. And also, under Mao Zedong, you had more people die than any other dictator in history. People don't know that. So, like, under Mao, more people died than any other dictator in history. Between 40 to 60 million people died under him in his own country. Like, you know, he is literally the #1 killer, like, out there. You have Hitler #2, which Hitler is horrible as well, evil. But, like, Mao Zedong, people don't know, Mao Zedong, 40 to 60 million people killed. And then you have Stalin right after that, too. So, Hitler, Mao, Stalin. You got the three worst people, and they're all living in the exact same time period, but the fact that somebody has, like, dressing as Mao Zedong is disgusting. More than Stalin? Well, here's the thing about Stalin and Mao. This is what's confusing about them. Technically, Hitler would be the biggest killer if you blame every single person that died in World War II. If you put every single person that died in Europe during World War II on Hitler, Hitler technically has the most amount of people killed. But if we're talking, like, just strictly individual murders, it would probably be Hitler or Stalin. That would either be #1 or #2. Stalin murdered around 20 million people. You know, Hitler killed, you know, millions of people in the Holocaust. He also killed tons of people with just his bombings and starvation, like at the Siege of Leningrad. So Hitler killed millions of civilians as well. So Hitler and Stalin are pretty close, tied on the amount of people that they had individually murdered. Mao Zedong is responsible for the most amount of people dead, but not necessarily the most amount of murders. I'll explain what that means. People are a little confused. So under Stalin, murdered more people than Mao. He physically had more people executed and shot than Mao, but under Mao, more people died from starvation. So that was it. So more people died under Mao from starvation, but Stalin had more people shot, if that makes sense. So overall, Mao's body count is higher because of his bad policies, but Stalin had more people individually murdered. So, but they're both, you know, really evil people. Like, you know, Mao Zedong has the highest body count of, you know, most dictators in history, and it's disgusting that that so many people are it's disgusting that so many people defend that dictator. in general, Mao, Hitler, and Stalin are equally bad. Yeah, kind of. The thing is people a lot of times in history they say, oh, who was worse? Was it, Stalin, Hitler, or Mao? And the way that I personally see it is all of these people were horrible dictators. All of them destroyed their country, and not only did they destroy their country, they destroyed other countries. So Mao destroyed China, he destroyed Tibet, he destroyed East Turkestan, he destroyed northern India. So numerous other countries that were destroyed, also Korea, also don't forget that. So Korea, Tibet, East Turkestan, northern India were destroyed by Mao Zedong, including China. Stalin destroyed, the Soviet Union, which is how many countries in the Soviet Union. He also destroyed Finland, Poland, what other countries? Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Romania. Those are all countries he invaded before World War II, by the way. And Mongolia also, too. Mongolia he attacked, too. And then Hitler, how many countries did Hitler invade? Hitler invaded pretty much every single country in Europe. Almost every single one, virtually, except like Switzerland and Ireland and Sweden. But virtually, other than that, like every single other European country got attacked by Hitler. And then Hitler also destroyed Germany on top of that, too. So, like, all three of these dictators, Hitler, Mao, Stalin, they all destroyed their own countries. Germany, the Soviet Union, China. They all invaded other countries. They all, were responsible for millions of deaths. The way that I see it is they're all, equally poisonous. They're all, horrible. Is that I don't understand, trying to debate over who is worse, what that accomplishes, because I wouldn't want to live under either of those dictators. I wouldn't want to live under Hitler, Stalin, or Mao. Certainly not. Neither of those dictators. I just say, F all of them, and we should be happy they're all dead. That's just the way I see it, that all these dictators are dead. Let me see here. What about Tojo? Tojo killed a lot of millions of people. Like, Tojo is probably the most murderous leader in Japanese history. Millions of people also. Tojo has definitely a body count of more than 10 million people, more than that. I don't know how much his body count will be exactly, I'd have to look that up, but I can tell you definitely more than 10 million people he's killed. The amount of invasions he did, the slaughter that he did in countries like China and Korea, the massacres he did, it's definitely over 10 million people that he killed. Let's see, Poland kept bullying Germany until they fought back hard. What history are you reading? What the hell, dude? Hassan Piker also supports terrorist groups and makes excuses for China and Russia. Damn. Damn. Do you think Hirohito should have been punished after World War II? To answer that question, it's both yes and no, if that makes sense. I'll explain what I mean. So what a lot of people do is a lot of people blame they say Hirohito wasn't responsible. They say, oh, it was all Tojo. It was all Tojo who did all these, horrible war crimes. But Hirohito's younger brother, who was a prince, had actually participated in the China campaign, and he led massacres against people, like he cut people's heads off. So, like, Hirohito definitely knew that his own family was murdering people in China. Hirohito knew that Japan was using chemical weapons in China. He knew they were using biological warfare. He did nothing to stop that. So Hirohito is very guilty of war crimes. Is Hirohito a murderer? 100%. There's no doubt about that. Hirohito is definitely a killer. 100% about that. He was a murderer. But now the other question is, should he have been tried and arrested after World War II? This is where it gets a little bit more complicated. Should he have been arrested? No. No, he shouldn't have been tried after World War II. Now, I know people are going to be confused, saying you just called him a murderer, so why shouldn't he be tried? As much as I would have liked to see him tried and put on trial for murder, the problem with Hirohito is that Hirohito was a very different leader than Hitler and Stalin, where Hitler and Stalin were just dictators. Once they were dead, the majority of people did not care. People in Japan saw Hirohito as a god. He was a god. He was a descendant of a god. And they saw him as their holy leader. If Hirohito was to be put on trial and he was executed, if that happened in Japan would have gone into full-scale civil war for years and years and years. It would have been endless civil war over and over and over again. Like, Japan would have been a nightmare. It would have been pure anarchy, pure chaos. There wouldn't have been, like, the US would not have been able to occupy it, like, the amount of rebellions that they would have had. So, the US basically weighed their options, and have you ever noticed how when the American troops landed in Japan, there was no resistance? There was almost nobody attacked American troops when they landed in Japan. Like, the people didn't attack American troops. The reason that people didn't attack American troops is because the emperor gave his people orders: stand down, do not attack the Americans when they come and land and occupy Japan. And the people obeyed that because the people saw the emperor as a god. And they said, if we attack the Americans right now, we are disobeying our god. So that is why it was relatively peaceful, because Hirohito helped with the transition of power. And MacArthur was smart not to put Hirohito on trial for that. So, was Hirohito a murderer? Yes, he was. But unfortunately, we couldn't put him on trial because it would have just led to pure chaos in Japan. We instead made Hirohito help us rebuild Japan, and that was it, pretty much. Hirohito was really the only Axis leader that was really spared. Where, every single other Axis leader either died through suicide or hanged. But, like, Hirohito was really the only major Axis leader that was, really spared for the most part. So that's what I'll say ultimately about that. The one thing that the U.S. did do good is that the U.S. made even though they didn't put Hirohito on trial, what the U.S. did was they forced Hirohito to revoke his divinity. What his divinity was basically was him saying that he's a descendant of a god. So Hirohito had to go on the radio and he had to say, "I am not a god." The U.S. made him do that. So that was actually good. And that's the reason why the Japanese public today is not so brainwashed, is because of that. Because specifically is that Hirohito announced, "I am not a god." And the Japanese public saw, he was a god, but he lost a war against the Americans. And they realized he's not a god. He's just a person. That's all he was. So literally that helped reform Japan, and it turned Japan to a more secular country, which Japan is a much better country today, being a secular country, than being like a theocracy, how it was with the emperor system before. I missed a bunch of super chats. I'm sorry. Let me look here. Patreon Alpha from Planet Gem, Tongue and Freeway are split builds. Houses basic for now, 2 to 4 car storage, and 1 is a lift. Multiplayer will launch later. Accessed by your crib's TV. You get a dirty bed. Oh, okay. I will look into this game, Troy Powers. I'll definitely look into it. Definitely. Gene Rayburn did Mal better in 1978 on Match Game. I don't know. I gotta look that clip up then Mario. Hassan Piker's communist LARPer. He's a rich brat. He is very rich. That is true, Jolly. He's very rich. He's a narcissist. Yes. Thank you, Jolly. It's very hypocritical that people say North Korea has a criminal regime and tested nuclear weapons, ignoring the fact that America tested nukes and bombed North Korea during the Korean War. Well, North Korea is not called a criminal regime because of its nuclear weapons. It's called a criminal regime because of what it does. Like, if you watch my true crime playthrough, like the ending I just uploaded to Hamzat, North Korea has a state-sponsored mafia called Room 39. And if you're ever wondering how the North Korean elites, ever wonder how the North Koreans get, like, the Mercedes cars for their, like, how Kim Jong-un has a Mercedes limo, even though they can't because of sanctions, Room 39 gets it for them. So, like, these are North Korean gangsters that live in mansions. They live pretty well, and they're able to operate freely under the North Korean government. And Room 39 smuggles in luxury goods like Rolexes and other stuff for North Korea. They also are responsible for kidnapping people. When people go missing, North Korea does kidnap people. They've kidnapped people from South Korea. They've kidnapped people from Japan before. They put them in containers and then ship them in ships to North Korea. That actually happened to a South Korean director and his actress ex-wife. And then they were forced to actually make a North Korean Godzilla movie by Kim Jong-il. North Korea also bought like hundreds of cars from Sweden, and they never paid for it. That's a crime, what they've done. And Sweden sends them the bill every single year, but North Korea refuses to, pay for it. North Korea assassinates people outside of its country. Also, like, Kim Jong-un had his half-brother assassinated. It was probably Room 39 who probably did that on his orders, too. So North Korea is a criminal, regime. It is. It's not I wouldn't say it's a criminal country because of its nuclear weapons. It's more a criminal country because of how the state operates. The state is basically one giant mafia run by Kim Jong-un. That's essentially what it is. It is. It's not a nice country. It's not. It's a state-sponsored mafia. Now, I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for every bad thing the U.S. did. Yes, the U.S. has done bad things in its history, sure. But, like, if you just look at, like, North Korea, it's like, where would you rather live? Would you rather live in North Korea, or would you rather live in America? You know, I think the choice of that is obvious. Kim Jong-un is almost seen like a god in a way in North Korea. Yes, it's kind of weird because North Korea preaches state atheism, so they preach that there is no god. That's what the North Korean government's position is. But they regard Kim Jong-un as like a saint, like some god-like powers too. That's what's weird about it.
Go on, get going.
I remember when this place was a few sheds.
Okay, guys, I guess I'm gonna head out here. I'm probably not gonna play poker tonight. Because I'm gonna go see the Young Washington movie with my friends later today. I was gonna go and see that. I will have a video on the getaway vehicles tomorrow on GTA Online. So I'll have that. I'll have the next part of Assassin's Creed tomorrow. Just be patient with me. I'll have it up tomorrow. I promise. It's like in Mercenaries Playground Destruction. Yeah, in Room 39 are the Room 39 are in Mercenaries Playground Destruction. They engage in human trafficking, slavery. So, like, that's what North Korea does. You know, they have their slave labor camps. I'd never heard about that, Pro. I'd have to look that up. How North Korea has nuclear weapons, but South Korea doesn't have nuclear weapons. I wonder why North Korea has nuclear weapons, but South Korea doesn't. I don't know. Probably because South Korea was interested in it, or probably also because they probably weren't allowed to by the U.S. That's probably a part of it too, Hamzat. Is it wrong for Artie to beat up Benny in The Sopranos? No, Benny deserved that beat up. Like, when Artie beat him up, he deserved it 100%. No, I'm gonna go see it later tonight, General. Okay, so I guess I will be heading out here, guys. I'll be going here, guys. Thank you guys, everybody, for hanging out with me. If you guys enjoyed the stream, do drop a like if you guys enjoyed the stream. And I will see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone. Have a wonderful day, guys.